Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for the virtual open house. My name is Tomer from the University of Haifa International School. The University of Haifa is the first institute of higher education in Israel to commit to focusing on the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. Extending through the beautiful Mount Carmel, downtown the diverse city of Haifa, and into the breathtaking views of the Mediterranean Sea, we are the living laboratory to advance the research, dissemination, and implementation of solutions with global impact. I see more people joining us, so I will let you in. And I'm excited that you joined us for this info session to learn more about our international MA in Peace and Conflict Management. Some house rules, please be sure to keep your microphones off during the session. If you have any questions, please send them in the chat and we will answer them at the end of the session. It will be helpful for us and also very, very nice to see your faces. So we'll be happy if you open your cameras. Without further ado, I'm happy to introduce Dr. Kuttner, head of the program, who will tell us more. Dr. Kuttner, please.
Hi everyone. Thank you very much, Tomer. Please, it would be much better if I get to see you. So if I can ask to open the cameras, it is something I would like us to do in a more dialogic way than just lecturing. So it would be really nice to see faces. Let me ask you if you know what SDGs are. We mentioned the SDGs. Tomer was talking about the Sustainable Development Goals. Does anyone know what the SDGs are?
I guess it's new for all of us.
Yeah, so it's about the UN trying to realize what it is that we need to do in order to make our world a better place, a more sustainable place, a place that we can work and strive towards having a healthier world, healthier social structure. And within it, SDG number 16 speaks for peace and justice. So it's only natural that what we have to offer, teaching peace and conflict management, is something that is important for a more sustainable world. But this is the easy part. SDG number 17, which is the last among the 17 SDGs, is about integration between all other SDGs. Integration about all the efforts done on all other levels. Meaning we live in a complex world, an integrative world, where we need to find a way to develop a systemic, holistic approach where things can work together, collaborate among themselves. Integration is needed among people and among stakeholders, among fields. So number 17 speaks about, it's kind of the meta level that speaks about what is needed in order to get all these things executed. Why am I mentioning all of that? Because if you come to study peace and conflict management, you come to study how to do exactly that. Peace and conflict management, yes, it's about peace building. It's about social conflicts and gaps within society and helping bring groups together. It's about interpersonal conflicts, helping to mediate among people, community-based mediations and conflict transformation, helping to build consensus among people. It's about all of that. But more than anything else, it's about developing the mindset and the skills and the capacity to integrate, to be the integrator, the facilitator that portrays and demonstrates a different type of leadership than what we used to see decades ago. Not the charismatic leadership that says, I decided, you do what I tell you. Unfortunately, this week is not the right week to give it as an example as we see what is happening in Russia, but I put it aside. More and more within the Western tradition, more and more in the more democratizing world, we see an understanding, a growing understanding that being a good leader is about being able to facilitate and orchestrate among diverse voices. When I ask you to see your faces and I will ask, and when I ask you a question, is because I want to engage with you in a conversation, not just to tell you what we do, but to see what you are interested about, to see what other people have to bring into the mix. Okay, 1 and 1 makes 3. If we have the skills how to integrate and bring together the many voices. Now, we live in a very diverse world, and we live in an overwhelming world where there's so much data, so many NGOs and organizations and groups, and everything is accessible. How do we manage all of that? How are we able to create what is now called collective impact, meaning bring together the groups of organizations to make a difference and be able to push things forward? Again, on the international level, on the social level, national level, communal level, in our families. How do we get to bring together, brothers and sisters and parents and maybe nephews and whoever, whenever is needed, in order to discuss issues that deserve collaboration and consensus? So SDG 17 tells us that if we wish to have a sustainable world, we need to know how to do that. So it's not without a reason that in the last 30 or 40 years, there's a growing understanding that conflict management, conflict transformation, and peace building is something very promising, and we see more and more people coming to study it. Why? Because the world of the 21st century needs professionals that are able to do just that, to integrate, to orchestrate, to bring together, to create spaces for dialogue, for collaboration, to build consensus when there's diversity, to help seize escalation and transform it into something that is more nourishing to human beings on the interpersonal level, on the societal level. Each and every one of you can think about his own society. Here in Israel, Jews and Arabs, seculars and religions. If you come to Haifa, you'll get to see it like nowhere else. The most diverse city in Israel. If you're Christian, there's 7 different churches in Haifa, okay? And I still didn't even go into the Muslim world and the Baha'i center and the Jewish, different traditions within the Jewish mixture. So how do we help this mosaic work in a nourishing, integrative way? Not easy. So Israel is a hub. People come to us to study it because unfortunately, it's a hub. Unfortunately, we have so many gaps and fragmentations internally within Israel and among us and our neighboring countries. And this is a good place to come and study. But if you come and study with us, we make sure that you reflect on where it meets you. I don't want you to study what's going on somewhere else and objectively discuss a different country, different society. We will put a mirror to your face and ask you, going home, where does it meet you? How does it ring a bell about your own skills with regard to interpersonal negotiations and conflict management? When you rent an apartment and you need to have to manage a conflict with the landlord, if you have a conflict with at work or whatever, that's a good starting point. So we start with the interpersonal negotiation. Then as a third party, how to be a mediator to help people solve disputes. Moving to consensus building when there's multi-stakeholders, diverse stakeholders. Going to the national level. I myself, in the last decade, most of my work is on shared society, up-and-coming concept, how to develop shared living among diverse groups so everybody feels at home. Again, in Israel, the Jewish-Arab issue is quite an issue that we deal with, but there's so many other fragmentations that we need to deal with. If you ask me, the worst thing, the most endangering thing to the Israeli future, and I speak about Israel, but I hope it resonates on everyone in your own country and society, the most dangerous thing is the level of fragmentation and the lack of social cohesion, because lack of social cohesion affects the resilience in ways that are harsh. So I see myself as someone who's doing something meaningful to help develop a more cohesive and a more resilient Israeli society. But as a citizen of the world, I work with you and I help you also, we help you to develop the capacities to take it back home and do it at home. Myself, I'm part of a consortium. I'm leading a consortium of 7 or 8 countries from around Europe and the Middle East, trying to develop shared society together, each one in his own country. including some Arab countries, neighboring countries, and through that developing also collaborations. But it goes to other countries throughout the world. We work together as scholars and professionals on developing shared society. We don't just work on the ivory tower, but we also work with practitioners. We make sure that we do something that is applicable. So if you're interested with coming here and learn theory, great. You need to learn theory. It's a graduate degree program where you will learn the literature and the scholarship and the theory that is needed. And not but. We will teach you the difference between yes and yes but. It's not but, yes and. And with that, we help you take it to the practical level. We're the only program in Israel that has a practicum in it, where you are situated within an organization doing some work, where we ask you to reflect on how these things are applicable on the practical level, where we ask you, how do you take it to wherever you go when you finish your program? If you go back home, if you work in the UN, if you do whatever you do. At the moment, we have a student, former student, last year student, working with the Red Cross of the border in Ukraine, trying to be in touch with him on a daily basis. You will decide where it is that you want to go and what you want to do with it. It could be on the international level, it could be on the national level, could be a communal level. You may decide and say, you know what, I want to take it to the business level. I want to be a consultant to high-tech firms, help them develop their capacity to engage in a more dialogic and collaborative way. This is also an option. So you can do all of that, okay? We allow you to find your own fingerprint. We allow you, it's not that we allow you, we encourage you to find what it is that gives you a kick, what it is that meets your vocation and your dreams. So eventually, when you leave the program, you say, I'm starting to see the path that I want to go moving out of this program. You will not come out of this program and you will become the peace builder, conflict specialist that now is like, knows everything. Hopefully, we will help you and to develop the humbleness to become a continuous student, a continuous learner, but we will also encourage you to find the places and the subfields and areas that meet your passions and your vocations and the things that you want to do in order to strive for a better world, either Russia, Ukraine bringing peace, or a better world on the communal level, or a better world on a national level, whatever. I believe that what we do, we conflict specialists, peace builders, is meaningful, is needed, and we bring to the world skills that are so much needed. When I do my consultancy work, I also consult to environmental complex projects and environmental conflicts, or I mediate. I just told Tomer I just ended a 3-hour mediation session. I don't look exhausted, right? Okay, good. But what we're trying to do is also help people develop the skills, not just to solve the disputes, but help bring the seeds of collaboration that they can then make use of it. When we give workshops on negotiation and conflict management, people say, you know, this is so nourishing, this is so helpful. This is like life skills that I wish I was taught when I was young, how to listen, how to empathize, how to think collaboratively, how not to react, how to see things in a more systemic level, how to integrate, how to bring people together, not just push my agenda. And believe you me, as an Israeli, that's not easy, because Israelis, they always have an agenda, they always have something to say. So we need to learn how to take a deep breath and how to be able to bring something that unfortunately is not yet understood enough. I am sure that all of you ask yourself, peace, conflict resolution, what do you do with, I mean, is this a profession? Well, it is up and coming profession when there's a growing understanding that is very much needed, but you are still in the first, second generation of molding and developing a new profession in the making. Those of you who will be interested in doing more theoretical work, you can do a thesis track, take the second year to do an MA thesis and to do something that is more theoretical. Those of you who would want to do something that is more applied, you may give up on the thesis, and it's okay. We encourage you not to necessarily do the thesis track, and then you end your studies in 1 year, 3 semesters, Okay, we help you finish within 1 year so you don't drag it going back home. Oh gosh, I have one course for 5 years ago when I was in Israel. I wish I finished my MA degree. No, we'll help you finish your MA degree. We'll encourage you to finish your MA degree. And then you are doing the more applied work. You do a final paper that is like it's a reflection and on your practicum work, on the more practical side of things. Okay, so the studies are 3 semesters. You have a few required courses that you need to take. For example, the first semester, you learn basic negotiation, mediation, conflict management skills. You learn conflict theory, the conflict escalation theory. You learn research methods, and you can take other courses, that elective courses. Second semester, you'll have a course on paths to peace, which is how to transform the conflict escalation, frameworks for conflict transformation and for peace building. And you have the practicum course. And then you have other electives in the second semester and in the third semester. And also in the second semester, you're doing the practicum. One last thing before I keep quiet and give room for questions, because I have spoken enough and I want to hear your questions and to try to relate to them, is the extracurricular activities. We're very proud of the extracurricular activities. We see you as students who come to Israel for a year long of studies, and we are trying to provide you the most enriching experience that you can. First of all, we're here for you. It can be sometimes difficult, lonely, leaving everything, coming to Israel. We're trying to provide a space where you feel that, there's a good holding space for you. Also, your peers, it's always a wonderful group of students. Every year we have people coming from 10 different countries, working together, doing things together, most of them in the dorms, but not only, strengthening each other. But the extracurricular activities consists of guest lectures. We have guest lectures 8, 9, 10 throughout the year. Every 3 weeks, we have someone coming from the field, a CEO of a big NGO, a politician, someone as an academician teaching something as a scholar. So we have that as additional guest lectures. We have field trips. You'll have 4 field trips going to the Jerusalem area, learning about the complexities in the Jerusalem area, going to the Golan Heights and the Galilee to understand the problematics of the borders with Lebanon and things of that nature, going to the border of the Gaza Strip to get to a better understanding of what's going on in the Gaza Strip and understanding the complexities involved, and other places and other things. So these are like a day-long day trips. We do them on Sundays 4 times throughout the year. And we have workshops, special professional workshops that we bring professionals and scholars that we cannot offer everything in courses because it will be too much. But for example, this weekend, we have an 8-hour workshop. It will be 4 hours this Friday and 4 hours next Friday for the existing cohort on restorative justice. Restorative justice is victim offender mediation, complex restorative processes. We have the best expert in Israel doing this work. She's a scholar at the University of Haifa, and she's coming to give an 8-hour workshop. Next month, we have an 8-hour workshop on listening skills. We have a professional scholar that this is his research on listening. The month later, we will have someone coming in and giving 8 hours on peace education, a very important topic because some of you will be eager to take all this knowledge into the educational field. So what I'm saying is that we are trying to make it a rich experience as much as we can. We know that you come here for a year that you dedicate for your studies. Unlike, sometimes we have students in Israel that, they're working 2 jobs and they already have 3 children and they don't want to be bothered. We know that you students coming from abroad, usually it's a different experience. You have this wish to get the most out of this year, and we're trying to provide it as much as we can. So I'll stop here. I'll take a deep breath. I bombarded you with a lot, I think. I hope it wasn't too much. Do take a moment yourselves for a deep breath in order to kind of take it in. And whatever question you have, take your time, please. We're here to try and answer any questions, and even, you know, fears or concerns that you have. It is more than legit to raise concerns and fears that you have. And sometimes, you know, I have students starting by saying, you know, I have a silly question. I say, great. Those who think that the question is a silly question, those are usually the best questions. So don't worry about bringing also what you may consider silly questions. Please.
Thank you, Dr. Kuttner. Before I give the stage to the candidates for asking questions, I'm sending you in the chat a few links for you in order, if you want basically to continue or to start your application, and also other information about the program itself. And the link if you want to schedule another meeting or conversation with our program advisor. So take a look at that. I will add that the international school also has its own support, and basically you will join other international students from 90 countries. So when you are here, annually we have 1,000 students from 90 different countries. So it's quite unique to be on top of the Mount Carmel with other students from around the world. And basically, Haifa, it's unique also because it's a microcosm of the state of Israel, as Dr. Kuttner mentioned. So any questions, guys, please write in the chat or just raise your hand and speak. We'll be happy to hear.
I can only add, you know, Tomer will not speak on behalf of the international school because he's a part of the international school, but I'm not. So I can say they're doing wonderful work with providing students with everything they need. Assistance of how to open a bank account. I had a student that was sick and she needed the hospital treatment, and they were there for her. At the moment, we have also students from Ukraine and Russia supporting them in these difficult times. So thank you, Tomer, and thank you the entire crew, staff, and the international school for being there for the students in the way you are.
We love what we are doing, so that's part of it. So if everyone are shy, maybe I will start with a question. When we're speaking about the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, we're speaking also the connection that the university has with the community itself. And you spoke about some of the extracurricular activities and also the practicum that students usually doing. Maybe you can elaborate.
Yeah. We see our role also to serve the surrounding we live in. And again, as I mentioned, Haifa is quite a complex, diverse city. The only city in Israel that is part of the intercultural cities network. It's an international network of cities. Haifa is the only one in Israel. So we're doing all kinds of research activities and teaching within Haifa. For example, at the moment, we're conducting research on the escalation, on the conflict that happened last May when there were here the riots and the problems among Jews and Arabs. So we're conducting research, and hopefully in a few months' time, we'll be able to come out with some recommendations to help policymakers deal more constructively if similar situations take place in the future. So we're trying to work with the ground, with the Haifa, Akko, which is also, we have one of our faculty members is now initiating a project where he brings religious leaders from diverse communities, from diverse religions within Akko to work together on some of the concerns and social problems in Akko. So we do all of that. But I'm happy to hear you. Siva, I think Siva Rama, you raised your hand, right? Please.
Yeah, it's good evening, Professor. So it's evening here. I don't know what time of the day is it over there.
6:27 in the evening.
Yeah, so good evening.
Good evening.
So, and naturally, I'm not part of this course. Like yesterday, I did apply for MBA in sustainability, and after seeing that, this today, I don't know the subject called conflict management had ever existed in any part of the world in the first place. So, just felt to join you guys with. So, what actually you do, you work on? Yeah, so I'm from India. India is much like Israel, is a complex mix of societies, cultures, and languages. Here we speak, 1,000 languages more that are spoken in the subcontinent, and people from all eight: Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Jews, Buddhists, Jains, Zoroastrians, Parsis, Arabs. Jains also live almost eight, and also good growing population of atheists also live over here. And yeah, much like I can find much similarity with Haifa. And so my question here is like, as a part of student and sustainability. So from the Paris Accords, like which was signed on 2015 in Paris. So we didn't achieve any of the goals which were actually intended to be achieved, because people are not people have a conflict regarding what should we do to combat climate change. Everyone agreed that there is a concept called climate change is happening, but the way of approach, they have too many conflicts. Like, okay, this country did this, so why not we? So they develop this much. So can this psyche of human psyche can be developed in this conflict management as well? Because we couldn't able to achieve success because we did not arrive at any common platform. What should be done?
I
So
will tell you this.
yeah,
You're talking
yeah,
about the
that's my
Paris.
question.
You're
Yeah.
talking about the Paris Accords. I was part of the Mediators Beyond Borders when it first started about 10 years ago. And the leaders of this organization, really like the top professionals in the field, dedicated a lot of their time in the year before 2015 to help prepare the Paris Accords, to the convention. Why? Because there was an understanding that without the development of the infrastructure for dialogue and consensus, we would not have reached the kind of agreements that we reached. Luckily, we had at the time Obama that in terms of his mindset, I don't talk about his politics. I don't want to go there. But in terms of his way of acting as a facilitative leader, he brought a good understanding of the need to convene and bring people to get to agreements together. He was, just an anecdote, I was 3 years at the program of negotiation at Harvard, and I was working with those who went to school with him and took with him classes in negotiation and mediation when he was at the Harvard Law School. So he got good education in that respect, and he implemented it as a leader. Unfortunately, the Trump era, we saw how there's, America first and all of that. You build, again, barriers and gaps and less work on the shared work of the powers. And that was a problem. So SDG 12 or 13, I don't remember the number, which is about environmental sustainability, okay, and climate change.
G7, sorry.
No, SDG, either 12
SDG,
or SDG, I don't remember which number. I think it's 12 or 13. It's about climate, sustainability, climate change, and all of that, which we all understand it's a huge problem. I can tell you from my work, okay, I work with the green organizations, parks associations, and Ministry of Agriculture and all of that, with the city halls to work together in order to develop capacity to do planning jointly. What I'm trying to say is that you cannot attack, or you cannot really deal with the complexities, the complex challenges of environmental issues without collaboration. So here again, content-wise, we talk about environment. Process-wise, we are needed. Education, content-wise, it's about education. Process-wise, it's about how to work together in order to develop a mission statement that works for everyone. So in almost every one of these SDGs, if you look at it from a process perspective, we are very much needed in order to do this kind of orchestration.
So we have two more questions I see from Emmanuel and Maria. Let's start with Emmanuel, please. Emmanuel, you want to ask?
Okay, shalom everyone.
Hello.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on your time zone.
Where are you from?
Okay, I'm from Africa, precisely currently in the Biafran land, maybe the eastern Nigeria kind of.
We have students from Nigeria almost every year. Nigeria, Cameroon, almost every year.
Thank you. I'm a student of national security. That is the discipline I want to offer. And but it has a nexus with peace and conflict resolution. Looking towards the SDG, security is part of it, more like a kind of a developmental goals that we should look into as the African zones and the entire world. And if I'm coming out clear, am I coming out loud, clear?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. So I really want to know, is security part of these developmental goals? I want to know regarding to the SDG.
The head of the security program keeps telling me, yeah, you guys, you are doing the soft stuff. That's not the real deal. Real deal is about rational choice. It's about powers. It's about, how to make sure that you really guard the world. Maybe it's not the week for me to speak necessarily for why he's wrong, because it is an unfortunate week or couple of last weeks of what we see. And probably what is needed now is not just diplomacy in a way, but I don't want to go into these current affairs and so on. I will say that on the deeper level, security requires the ability of reaching agreements and being able to see what each one of us brings into the mix in a way that we reinforce the capacity to move forward. As we like to say, we move from you against me to us against the problem. If I am against you and you are against him and he is against me and I'm against that, eventually all the energy goes on fighting each other. We reach a lose-lose solution. We will study also game theory and things of that nature to help us realize that. If we are able to see how we come together in a sensitive manner, in which we give room for what you care about and what your concerns are. And I give room for what Maria brings and what her interests and what her needs are. And we take Jemima and we see what her wishes and where she is at. And each one brings his or her skills and forces. We are able to, what we call, to enlarge the pie, to create something, to construct together something that otherwise we could not have constructed. So developmentally, it is helpful. And I would say security-wise, it is important. It's obviously more complex, and security involves also being able to guard yourself and not to be a fool. And so it's obviously more complex. It's not just like kumbaya, let's just come together as one. Okay? But we find a way to work out this complexity in a manner that sees security not just as just shielding myself and having power over you, okay? If you want, it's the feminist shift from understanding power as power over to power with. How do we create power together? But I'm starting to lecture, so I will stop here. Thank you. It's a wonderful question, Emmanuel. It's a wonderful question. Maria, please.
Hello,
where are you
how
from?
Are you? I am from Colombia, from Bogota, actually.
Wow.
How are you?
Very good. We have a student from Colombia this year at the program.
Yes? Wow, that's really cool. Thank you for the space. I want to ask is, I look out in your web page, like for the curriculum of the program and all that stuff, but I have one doubt is that how is the relation of the curriculum, and if it have it or not, is with other conflicts, like in other territories, like for example Latin America or in other places. For sure, if we are going to be in Israel, like it's obviously that we are going to study that conflict, and that's really useful in my case. But I'm interested in also knowing how far can we get from the MA?
Good question. Good question. First of all, yes, we put special effort on what's going on in the region, not just Israel, but Israel and the area, because this is where we can also observe and see. They say the devil is in the details. So you come here, you want to see the details, so you go into that. And yet, at the same time, we speak about conflicts elsewhere as well. This week, I had a class on Kosovo. We spoke about Kosovo and former Yugoslavia and problems there in a different context, doesn't matter. It was relevant for context of questions of ripeness, doesn't matter. In a few weeks' time, I have a class on Ireland. We bring specialists coming from other countries. Again, we have consortium working with other countries, so we bring them in to tell about what's going on there. And as I told you, at the end of the day, it is also a reflective journey. Meaning that if you will decide at the end of a specific course that you wish to now apply everything that you learn to something that in South America, we will only encourage it, because then it will be something that you know the details, that you feel at home with the details, and you can be more invested in. So you have the freedom to also take it to other contexts. At the end of the day, the ability to take something you learn and move it from one context to another is a very important skill that we need to learn to do. So we encourage this type of movement. But at the end of the day, it's where your passions lie. If your passions are in trying to understand what's going on back home, and this is what you want to work on, we will not necessarily be the scholars to teach you that. You'll bring the content, okay? Or we'll help you find also the content to work with. But we will encourage you to apply the peace building, conflict resolution knowledge in that situation.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So we see a question.
Do we have other questions, Tomer?
Yeah, I see one in the chat about the thesis track. Is Hebrew language? No, it's not in Hebrew language. The program is in English. Knowledge mandatory, thesis topic as per course design, elaborate on this. Okay, if you can elaborate about the second year, if you want to write thesis and what kind of topics.
Okay. Again, those who don't do the thesis track, you finish your courses within 1 year, 3 semesters. You begin the end of October. This is when mid-October, this is when the academic year begins. And then the summer semester, which is a bit shorter than the other semesters, ends usually end of August, first week of September. You take September in order to write your papers. And again, as I said, try to be done with them before you leave. This is the first year. And probably the only year for those who don't do the thesis track. If you wish to do a thesis track, you have to start thinking during the break after the first semester on what it is that you wish to do. And about end of March, you have to hand in your one-pager proposal of kind of saying what it is that you wish to do in your thesis. And that's a kind of a statement of intent that we help you develop into a research proposal. Sometimes we make you work hard on the proposal just so that when the proposal is approved, you know that you're clear on what you need to do. We don't want you to have a proposal approved and then you do something and say, oops, and it's not working. This is research. This is where you have either 1 or 2 advisors that work with you. You will find the advisors that you wish to work with from the faculty in our program, but also faculty from other programs. Remember, this is an interdisciplinary program, so you can work with faculty from other programs as well, okay? And you develop with them the research proposal. They help you find the right scholarship, the literature to work with. You learn how to kind of crystallize the question that you wish to research. And then in the second year, it's about conducting the research. It takes time. Some of it is academic, theoretical. Some of it might be applied in the sense of going and checking the field and going to the field of social sciences. So most likely it will be. And again, what would be the topic? Whatever you'll be passionate about. I have students doing things that I could never imagine that this would be a thesis topic in our program, but they were passionate and did. Again, it's a very open-ended field. There's a lot of room for elasticity. You can bring it to so many dimensions and areas that, yeah, will be whatever you choose to do. If you don't feel that you connected with what you want to do in the research, I would say don't start the research, because there's ups and downs, and there's a lot of energy needed for that. Okay, so you need to find your passions. Others, any other questions? People that didn't ask yet, Tomer, let's give them a minute to. Yes, David, please.
Hi, Dr. Kuttner. I'm from Ecuador, and now I'm in the Amazonia, in the borderline with Colombia. So I need to know the different skills that you mentioned at the beginning of the speech. It could be applied in the communities, in the conflict communities, with petroleum business, with governance. It could be applied at this level or other levels.
Could you say the last sentence? I didn't understand the last sentence.
That the skills that you mentioned in the beginning of the speech, you said that we can develop the different skills. And I asked you if these skills could be applied in the conflict between social organizations, with governments, with
of course, of course, of course,
at this level.
Of course, there's so much work about government working with the civil society sector, and government working with other business sectors. And yes, there's a lot of work that is about the governmental work and how to do it in a more collaborative way. We will discuss the notion of governance. Again, just as leadership is evolving, also the notion of governance is evolving, again, in the democratic countries, where there's a growing understanding that to govern as a verb means being able to share ideas and being able to develop policy together with stakeholders, together with NGOs, with the civil society, with the business sector. So there's a growing body of knowledge of how to do that. There's the notion of public participation. I don't know if you heard the term public participation. It's up and coming in the world. It's about how do we bring the public to consult the public about questions that on policy making. And so a lot of work that is on the governmental level. Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you. So our time actually come to conclude.
Offer internship in security.
Yeah, maybe one more question.
I'm not sure I understood. Emmanuel, I'm not sure I understood the question. Can one be able to join or offer internship in security architecture while offering its course theoretical? I'm not sure I understood, Emmanuel.
Okay, let me make myself loud and clear. I mean, as a student of national security, would I be put into the practical aspect of it? Not just a theoretical, like be a part of internship, maybe an agency and stuff like that. Because I'm very passionate about it.
Yes. Well, it may take more effort to find the right fit for you, but yes, we would prefer that the practicum will fit something of your interest. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, it's very flexible. Our understanding of what we do, and I think I try to convey the message, is that it's so applicable in so many areas. And then you will find a thing where you want to bring it. Anyone else? Let's take a moment. Tomer, let's give them another minute to take a breath and see if another question comes. That's just fine. Looks like we're good.
No, Professor, I have a last one. If I'm permitted to ask one more.
Yes.
One more question. Please be quick because we have one more minute to the next session. So please.
Oh, wow.
Sure.
I will just say you can always ask us questions also after the session. So don't worry, please.
Yes. So what do you think is like barrier for this? Like there are people who, flourish because of conflict.
Yes.
So because someone is fighting, they get some sort of advantage, or psychological. They feel some that's jittery, or they can make it financially viable for them. So that's my question.
Wonderful question. It takes about 3 classes to try and start and answer it. So you're more welcome, not in the last 30 seconds that we have in the required course in the first semester about conflict escalation. We will deal a lot with it. Yes, unfortunately, people flourish, and many politicians flourish because of conflict, and they encourage it. We need to go against the stream, against the current sometimes, in order to transform that to a different mindset, different approach, different ambience, different way of being with others. Not easy.
Like the reason I asked is like China and India were like too much of hatred is seen on the media.
We can't.
But,
I see Thomas saying that we don't have time. You're going into content. I will be more than welcome to get into this discussion when the time comes. That's a wonderful question. So thank you very much, everyone. Again, if you have questions, you can send us on the technical level. You get answers from the international school. Content-wise, they'll be able to pass it to me, and I'll be able to answer. Don't hesitate to raise your concerns and questions. It's totally legitimate, whatever concern you have. So thank you for coming. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, and I also would like to thank Dr. Kuttner for taking the time to share more information about the program with us. Remember, guys, don't forget to submit your application by March 15 in order to receive 75% off the application fee. So thank you for tuning in, and hope to see you all soon in Haifa.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.